Now it is time, as we do every single Sunday at 10 a.m., we go on the mound with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene, brought to you by Blitz's Market in Ocean City, 21st and Asbury Avenue. Start your day off with their freshly squeezed orange juice. Mention the locker room, and you get $1 off their 12 ounces of liquid sunshine. All right, it's time to go to the Tom's River Volkswagen Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room Tommy Greene. Tommy, you got the youth movement today here in the locker room. What's going on?
Glad to be with you guys. I don't have to talk Billy off the ledge.
Well, you might have to talk one of us off the ledge because Danny's freaking out back here. And I want to start with Ranger Suarez. He's back on the bump today, Tommy. And Rob Thompson talked about yesterday that they're going to stick with a 5-man rotation for the foreseeable future, but he kind of left the door open for that 6-man rotation. What do you make of those comments from yesterday?
Well, there's always, when you start looking to do stuff like that, it all depends on how your other starters are doing, or they log in a bunch of innings or high stressful outings and stuff like that. It could be where he uses that as just to give an extra day to the other guys in the rotation. They sort of use that and sort of instead of having a built-in off day, like they have in the schedule, they're sort of like giving them another off day. You know what I mean? So I don't read too much into it. Going to a 6-man like that, because those guys, Wheeler and Nola, you want those guys on the bump when they're rolling. You want them on the bump. They're geared to go. They're geared with their schedule and the way they prep. They like that routine, and the more you keep them in the routine, the better they have the chance to repeat out there when they go and they repeat their mechanics, which helps with consistency. So,
Tommy, I want to ask you a little bit about the center field position on the Phillies right now. Obviously, Brandon Marsh comes back yesterday from his rehab assignment in AAA Lehigh Valley. Had a pretty good day. He had 2 hits, an RBI, and, was able to kind of break that schneid he was on. But Yohan Rojas, he has been tearing it up as of late. In my opinion, it seems like he should take that center field job and run with it. It should no longer be a platoon. But I'm curious as to where you stand on that with how much success we've seen from Rojas recently.
Well, I'm sort of in favor with the hot hand. It also it could be a fact where they're trying to make to get those guys going, and you never know what might happen in the trade deadline where they can put somebody in it. There's all different scenarios, and trade guys. But you got to get. They got Marsh for a reason, and he's been a productive guy, against right-handed pitcher, and so they got to get him going. And if he keeps doing, yesterday was a good sign. He gets on base and makes things happen. If they can platoon and keep both of them going, keep them going hot. A little bit, because Rojas had a very good week. He's hot right now, and you got to utilize that. So but it'd be great, to keep both of those guys going.
Right. And real quick, just to bounce off that, quick follow up. Yohan Rojas seemed to be benched Friday night after what he was supposed to be a double, but legged into a triple. Luckily, he hustles and is insanely fast, but he goes to third, a chance to make the final out at third base. What did you think about that? I know he didn't basically come out and say it, but Rob Thompson benching Yohan Rojas after that play on Thursday night.
Well, you can call it a benching or whatever you want. It's also, you got to start with a young guy like that. With he's had a couple questionable mental lapses, right, here in the first part of the season. And it's it's an education process too. He's always being educated, and learning. We all make mistakes. But you're telling yourself in a situation, you're telling yourself before the play even starts, the pitch is even thrown, what's going to happen if this happens, especially in defense. Where am I going with the ball if it's hit to me? That type of thing. You're like a step ahead each time. That way there's a reaction and everything's fluid after that. It happens because you know what you're doing. Same thing is when you're running the bases, so like an unwritten rule. You don't ever make the third out at third base, or that type of thing, because you got a runner in scoring position at second. With his speed, he can score on a base hit. So you can't put yourself. You got to think about team first, not about me type thing, but not necessarily. He was thinking like that. He was probably going on his instincts. He said, I know I can make it, but it cuts it close, So, it's just he didn't have to do that. He's got to understand that, as far as that's concerned. Now, if it's one out, it could be a different thing. To push it like that sometimes, to be aggressive, So, but there's times to do it and time not, and I don't think that was the time to do it. So.
Hey, good morning, Tommy. So obviously today we finally get to see Ranger back on the bump after his injury stint. It's been a minute. So I was curious what you are realistically hoping to see from Ranger's outing today. Do you expect him to, get a good couple innings in there? Do you want to see him, strike guys out? What are you hoping to see from Ranger?
Well, I'm just a solid outing. Working ahead in the count, because he's had his rehab start. His pitch counts should be up for him to go do what he needs to do. You don't bring him back to the big leagues to rehab. You bring him to the big leagues to pitch and to do what they're capable of doing. He needs to get all that stuff out, in the minor league rehab. So it's I'm looking for him to be on point, and to be a quality outing. So the key to that is throwing strikes early. That way he dictates what's happening in the at bats, and so. I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch. It'd be a great asset if we can have guys, have another guy. You know what I mean? And that's because you never can have enough. So.
We're speaking with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene on the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline, presented by Blitz's Market. Tommy, speaking of quality starts, Aaron Nola had a really good start yesterday, and he got off to a little bit of a slow start to start the season, right? And, he looks much better. But yesterday, they talked about he had a little bit of a neck issue yesterday. Have you, as a former pitcher, did you ever have anything like that when you're going into a start, like a quick injury bug beforehand, and you're like, I'm just going to power through it, especially when you're pitching and it's your neck?
Well, neck's a tough thing. If it's spasming and locking up to it, depends on how bad it is, I can't. I'm trying to remember back if I ever had any neck issues, and I can't never remember having any. Sometimes you fall asleep, you sleep wrong, you wake up with a kink in neck, and you can't move your neck. You can't even turn your head, and that's a bad ordeal. You can't pitch that way. So obviously, it was a situation where they were able to handle it and loosen him up a little bit. You know what I mean? For him to be able to move, it might have been a little sore. It's the difference between being sore and being pain. It's two different things. So we've all pitched if you're a pitcher and pitched in the big leagues and pro ball, we've all pitched with some discomfort or some things going on that you have to realize, okay, watch injury and watch just a little soreness, And a lot of times when you're a little sore, it kind of works itself out because you tend not to overdo and try to overthrow. And you stay within yourself, and your ball does, and you end up throwing just as good. You don't think you are, but you are, and your ball tends to liven up a little bit and move a little bit better. So it's kind of hand in hand a little bit. We've all had to deal with issues out there, a little nag and stuff, and you just don't feel good. So, but that's when you have to power through, and you still go out there and compete with what you have that day.
Tommy, I know we talked a little bit about the six-man rotation possibility with Taijuan Walker and Ranger Suarez kind of towards the end of that rotation, but I want to look more towards the future. I know we don't always want to get too ahead of ourselves, but at the end of the day, our top prospect, Andrew Painter, will be ideally in the Phillies rotation this summer. Now, how the franchise and how the organization wants to treat this, I'm not sure, but if you were the Philadelphia Phillies GM or president of baseball, if you were Dave Dombrowski and you had Andrew Painter coming up, let's say in a month and a half, 2 months, do you start him in the bullpen? Do you move Ranger Suarez to the bullpen? Or do you mess with, a lot of these players' regimen and routine and go to a six-man?
Mm-hmm. Well, me personally, when you bring a kid like that up, he's gearing up down there to start, and you don't vary off that. I think he's you're not bringing up him to be a relief guy.
Right. He's
going to be one of your mainstays right now, and he's working. They're taking it with we've got kids right now trying to take care of him. The key to it now, how many times is he pitching every fifth day, or is he pitching once a week? If he's going to start if they bring him up this year, he's got to be ready to go on that to me, on that routine that fifth day. Be ready to do that. If we're pitching well and everybody's pitching well and doing well, there might not be room for him. You might have to wait, and keep rehabbing and keep doing. Not rehabbing, but keep pitching down there. I mean, he's just got up to AAA. I think he's going to be pitching there.
Yeah, he'll be pitching this upcoming Thursday.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's still got some things to prove. You know what I mean? And so just keep doing his thing, keep pitching, taking the ball, go out there and compete every day, and just maintain his health. He's still building up to where he needs to go to, and it takes a little bit of time to do that. And he's still going through the mental battle too. He feels good. He's able to go and throw and do, but still the mental battle of lengthening it out and the way your body feels after that when your pitch count gets up to 100 pitches.
Yeah, I mean,
or more.
Surplus of effective starters. Yeah, a surplus of effective starters is a good problem to have, and we haven't even mentioned Mick Abel, who's had success in AAA this year so far. Yeah. So.
That's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have when you got your organization starting to come around a little bit, and guys are guys have issues. I mean, I come through the minor leagues. I had good stuff, but I pitched better in the big leagues than I pitched in the minor leagues. So I mean, it's about the maturation process, and sometimes it clicks. When it clicks, as long as you can maintain your health and you're healthy to go out and take the post and compete like you're capable of competing, the maturation process is a huge thing because the stuff's there. All those guys have got great stuff. There's a lot of minor league guys got just as good as stuff that the guys in the big leagues got. What's the difference? Consistency. They're they're consistent in what they do on a more of a regular basis, and they tend to have success. So that's a huge thing, So I mean, some guys get it and are able to corral it and become more consistent. And sometimes it just comes along. Some guys come along just a little bit later, maybe a year or two more later than people think. But sometimes organizations don't wait. That's how I got to Philly. I got traded. I had good stuff, and I had some great stuff. But the organization got backed up with pitching with Atlanta, and they gave me the opportunity to they could include me, a good arm in a trade, for somebody else, and it gave me an opportunity to pitch here in Philly, and that's all about taking the bull by the horns then when you get the opportunity. So,
hey, good morning, Tommy. So, another big topic of conversation, it feels like every year, is Alec Boehm. So, Alec Boehm, he's had a bit of a slow start. He's still yet to hit a home run this season. A little bit better as of late over this past week or so. His average is still down at 220. So, I was just curious, what do you think of how Alec Boehm has been playing? Do you think he is a name of somebody who could be on the move? We kind of touched on this before you were on. Is he somebody who you think the Phillies could look to move on from as early as the trade deadline this year, or is he somebody you still hold hope for?
Well, I mean, I still hold hopes for him because the guy can hit. I thought his power numbers would come more, but the more you watch him, he uses the whole field, and he goes about what he's doing, in a good way. I think it's a lot of confidence factor here. I don't know if he gets in his own head or whatever, but if he's going through, he gets going. I mean, it kind of runs with him. He kind of goes and goes, So, I mean, he was hitting what? He was hitting below Mendoza line. Now he's got it up to 220, so he's obviously playing a little better and swinging the bat a little better. But the key to me, they got him out there playing is to play good defense. And I think for the most part, he's done very well at that so far early in the season. And that's a huge thing, playing good defense at third base. So, I mean, it's a premium position there.
We're speaking with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene. Tommy, I'll leave you with one more. We've seen the mixing and matching at the top of the lineup in that leadoff spot with Stott, with Turner, Schwarber all season long. Right now, who would be your leadoff hitter?
Oh, my God. I mean, you got people that are hot right now. You got Turner's hot. I mean, he's I don't know what he's hitting for the week, close to 500. And you had Stott that went through the thing. I think both of them can do a quality job up there. Me personally, I just like the approach and the way Stott approaches each at bat. The way he can give you that quality at bat. I mean, you see a lot of pitches. From him, I like that in a guy. I mean, and you're asking me a question. You got some guys. We got three guys we put at the top of the lineup. And who do I like I like Turner and I like Stott. I think Stott gives you the better AB out of all of them. As far as the way he takes pitches and does things and see pitches, he's able to go the other way, and that's his MO. That was his MO since he's been up. But him going through a good stretch, getting in that rhythm again and that approach at the plate is good to see from him. And also, you can't go wrong when you're riding that wave, man. You ride with Turner the way he's going right now. He's starting to drive. Hit the ball the other way. Anytime you got guys going the other way, and no matter if they're right-handed or left-handed, they're letting the ball travel. They're seeing it better, and they're able to do some damage. As a starting pitcher, you got guys that's willing to hit the ball the other way. They're tougher out. Starting pitcher, I like to see somebody try to hit a home run. The swing tends to get big. And sometimes you see him bail. I can tell you when Harper's going bad. He gives ground a little bit, and he can't cover the outside pitch, he seems like. But when he's good, he starts hitting the ball to left a little bit, and that's when he's dangerous, real dangerous to hurt you. So I'm looking forward to seeing him start swinging the bat a little bit better, too.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I like Stott at the top of the lineup, too. But, Tommy, thanks so much for going on the mound with the youth movement today in the locker room. We always appreciate you jumping on.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Tommy.
Thanks,
There's
Tommy.
Tommy Greene on the mound with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene, brought to you by Blitz's Market in Ocean City, 21st and Asbury Ave. Start your day off with their freshly squeezed orange juice. Mention a locker room and get $1 off their 12 ounces of liquid sunshine. We always appreciate Tommy Greene jumping on the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline.